we are back. YouTube, welcome. AQA GCSE Geography, and it's revision time again. I know they're coming thick and fast at the moment. Today we're going to look at Paper 2, Question 3, UK Resource Management. Yes, quite a small section in terms of lessons. It's about 8 lessons worth of content. We're going to go over the main things today that we think you're going to need for the 6th of June. Paper 2, as I say, UK Resource Management. Anyway, who's in the chat, guys? Say hello to us. Let's see who we've got. 9 already. Hey, maybe Wednesday is the best day for a live stream. I don't know. Anyway, let's see who is here. QI, yes, good to see you, my friend. Hi, sir. £1.3 trillion has been spent on healthcare around the world. Wow. Interesting fact. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that one. That is interesting. 1.3 trillion. What is that, in like a year, or like ever since healthcare began? I don't know. Over what period of time is that? I don't know. Be interested to know. James, good to see you, James. And Harry's here. Yes, all the regulars. Rosa's here and Lily's here as well. God, everyone's here tonight. Thank you for joining us. I think, yeah, Wednesdays is the new Mondays, I think. This is really good. How's the holidays going? What have you been up to? How much revision have you been actually doing? Let us know in the chat section. Join us in the comments. What else? Yeah, how's your geography revision going? Remember, geography is the first Friday back after the holidays. It is in the afternoon, Friday afternoon after the holidays. So there is a little bit more time for that one. Just share with you the whole plan. So tonight, as I say, resource management. Monday night's live stream, 6 p.m. Don't want to miss it. Hit that notification bell and subscribe. Yeah, you don't want to miss that one. That one's going to be on water management. That's our specialist topic. Question 5, water management. And then we'll have finished the whole Paper 2 series. Check out the full playlist available on our YouTube channel for the whole Paper 2 playlist of things that I think you're going to need to know in 2025. We are going to have a live stream on Thursday night, a little Q&A where you can drop in and say hello and ask any questions before the exam on the Friday. What else is happening? Oh, we're going to do a live stream on Paper 3. Definitely. So again, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss that live stream on Paper 3, the tidal barrier in Morecambe Bay. And we'll also do a fieldwork one as well. So we've got, how many is that left? 1. So water on Monday, Q&A on Thursday, tidal back. We've got 4 left. 4 left of the live streams in 2025 series. Hope you've enjoyed them so far. Hit that like button if you have. Who else we got? QI, just today, 1.3 trillion on healthcare just today. Wow. I can believe that. Healthcare is expensive. And Alex, good to see Alex. Yes, thanks for joining us. And if there's any parents and family in the background, yeah, welcome as well. If you're watching on catch up, yeah, hopefully you're enjoying it so far as well. And what you're going to need is our usual stuff. It's called Cup of Tea and Case Studies. So you're going to need a cup of tea for the next hour. You're going to need some paper, pens, pencils, ruler, all the usual kind of stuff that I use. Let me just show you here, guys. So if you're doing the full experience today, let me just put you on full screen. You're going to need all the goodies. Yeah, so a piece of A4 plain paper, pencils, rulers, pen, and we do a really good summary revision for the whole of this section of the topic on a single page. So this should get you through pretty much everything that you're going to need for the exam. So that'd be good, won't it? That'd be really good. Right. Let me just uncast that for a second. So I think we're going to get started. If you're watching from elsewhere in the world, let us know where you're watching it from, which other countries. Or if you're watching on catch up, thank you very much for watching on catch up. Or listen to it as a podcast whilst you're in the car, walking the dog. Revision anywhere. That's what we can do. We can do revision anywhere. It's fantastic. Okay, I think we'll get cracking then, because I want to do my gardens. Actually, I want to finish off the day by doing my gardens. So I think we should get on with this one and get cracking. Remember, you can join in throughout the session, get involved, ask lots of questions. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. What is this on? This is on Paper 2, AQA GCSE Geography. It's on Q3, question 3, resource management, yeah? And it's all the things that I think are more likely to come up in paper 2 in 6th of June, 2025. You are more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And Rose as well. Thank you for jumping in there as well. Right, let's get started then. So I usually break up the page into 3 sections, those that are kind of regular viewers. Let's get the title banner up here then. That's where we always start with the title banner. Well, let me just put my little light on. Has that made any difference? Yeah, not really. There's a little light on there. Okay, so here we go then. It is AQA. Oh, let's get a different pen, actually. That's not a good start, is it? It is AQA. It is AQA paper 2 human geography. And this is question 3, resources, UK resources. And this is what you need for the 6th of June. Obviously, it's in the afternoon. Let's put PM. There we go. So we're going to need this one in the afternoon session. All right, there we go. So we've got our title banner, right? Let's get cracking. So we're going to look at the 3 main resources. So within this topic, you need to know 3 main resources that all humans need for a good quality of life. And according to AQA, the specialist resources that we are to study are food, water, and energy. There are 3 resources that we study. All students study UK food, water, and energy. And then, depending on your school and where you're listening from, you might specialise in either food, water, or energy. We're specialising in water, and that's going to be, say, Monday night, 6 p.m. Right, we're going to start with a key term. So our key term we need to know is resource scarcity. So where this topic fits in is we're worried about the amount of resources that are left on the planet, the distribution of those resources, and the ever-growing global population. Currently at 8.1 billion, projected to be at about 10 billion at the end of this century, 2100. And will we have enough resources, and how we're going to manage it sustainably to ensure every human being could live a happy life with the resources that they need? So in some places, we're already facing resource scarcity. There we go. If something is scarce, it means there is not much of that resource, or there is a lack of that resource. So some countries may have a lack of resources, and they will call that resource scarcity. So I'm going to put here, resource scarcity is a lack of a resource, whatever it might be water, food, or energy. So that's one of our key things. Another key thing to know about resources in the world, unfortunately, they are not evenly distributed. Some places have more food or more water, and some places have less. So there's an uneven distribution of global resources. So this is a key point. That's why I put it in a little gold star. There's an uneven distribution of global resources. What you might say is there is inequality. That would be a really good word to use if you're going for higher grades. There's inequality in resources. Some people have it and some people don't. So let's just put that in there, inequality. So countries like the UK, the USA, Australia tend to have lots of resources, resource rich, resource secure. And other countries, largely in the continent of Africa, such as perhaps Chad, Sudan, don't have the resources that others have. So there's global inequality. Let's get a little globe there. In terms of the distribution of resources. Hope your revisions started off looking nice. Get some colour on there. Make it visual. But remember not to write too big, because we've got a lot to squeeze on this single page. So, kind of uneven distribution of resources. Let's highlight that in my yellow. It's not evenly distributed. So that's kind of a key term. And we've got inequality. Some people have and some people don't have. Right, we're going to go into our little ruler now and use a table. So one thing that you need to know for AQA geography is you need to know where food is and where food isn't, where water is, where water isn't, and where energy is and where energy isn't. So we're going to draw a little table. A ruler. And I'm just going to draw it down here. I will add to it as we make it bigger as well. It's going to have 3 columns. But we'll just keep adding to it. Let's squeeze it in. Put the little heading up here. So the first heading is going to be resource secure. These countries have it. Resource secure. Or these countries also have usually high consumption or use of this resource. So that's a key term. Consumption means to use that resource, to drink the water, to eat the food, to use the energy. Here we're going to have resource type on this side. So resource secure countries, and then we're going to go for resource insecure countries. So these countries don't have that supply of resources available to them. Might have a lack of resources available. 15 watchers. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Hopefully you're going to enjoy tonight's little revision session. Join along, get your pens out, make your little revision booklets out. And join us with this paper 2, question 3 revision. Right, we're going to have a look, first of all, of where we find global food distribution. So I've just literally finished a McDonald's, which I know is not great, but that's the first thing I can think of when I think of food. Always good to get your little pictures and clip art going on, because it helps when you're thinking about it in your exam. So countries that are resource secure with food or have a lot of food, continents tend to be North America is resource rich in food. We also have Europe, where the UK is, and Australia. So these areas of the world do not have to worry significantly about food availability. They have plenty of it. In particular, you could say the USA is kind of resource rich in food. That would be a good little country to put. These countries have less than 2.5% of the population that are malnourished. So these countries have less than 2.5% of people malnourished or hungry, lacking the nutrients in their diet. Okay, let's have a look at countries where we don't tend to find enough food currently, or areas of the world where there's a lack of food. So there tends to be a lack of food in the tropical regions, between the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, between the tropics. If you look at a map, there's a lack of food within there. That's probably because of the extreme climate, the heat. It's very hard to grow crops in those particular regions. So our next place that we can mention if there is food insecurity is tropical Africa, basically, or Africa. Africa is made up of 55 countries. So we'll pick one out as an example. South Sudan, which is the poorest country in the world. It's also the newest or youngest country in the world as well. Quite recently formed, 2011 it was formed in. But yeah, it's also a very poor country. It has food insecurity. And here, malnourished population. So in terms of malnourishment, it can be greater than 60% of the population can be malnourished, which is a lack of nutrients in your diet, basically a lack of goodness in your diet, lack of nutrients in diet, which can lead to health issues. Yeah. Developmental deficiencies, you know, in child development, they struggle to grow, obviously, if they haven't got the food in their diet. It can lead to illness, things like that, because your immune system's impacted. So there we go, look. So we've got a nice little summary there. We've got places that have food, resource rich, and places that don't have food or resource poor. Another one you could add, if you wished, would be the Middle East, in particular around Israel and the Gaza conflict. There is a lot of food insecurity in that particular region at the moment. So if you wanted to impress the examiner with your current affairs, what's going on in the news, it's shocking what's going on over there. But yeah, Israel, Gaza, that area, that is a real sad story, and people are suffering because of a lack of food. Needs to stop. Okay, let's have a look where water is then. So regions with lots of water, resource secure for water, are you'll see a trend here. North, and also South America, where the Amazon is, and that area of the world. North and South America generally are resource rich in water. Also Europe, especially Western Europe, where we are. In these countries, there's less than 10% of people that drink unsafe water. So it's less than 10% of the population in these regions of the world that drink unsafe water. So generally, it is resource secure. Okay, right, let's go on to our next one. Whereabouts is there a lack of water, water insecurity? Let's get on to this one. So water insecurity again is generally where there is extreme heat. So again, between the tropics tends to be an area. Between the tropics, you can start to see patterns emerging here. And we'll go with Africa. And in particular, we'll look at Nigeria, which I know is a country that we study at my school, Nigeria. So we can mention Nigeria early on. There we go. So between the tropics and in particular Africa is resource insecure with water. Country to name is Nigeria in West Africa. And over 20% of their population drink unsafe water. Unsafe water. Okay, right. Let's just scroll down a little bit, guys. There we go. It's taking shape, isn't it? This, it looks quite nice. Okay. Right, let's go on to, we need a little bit more table. I don't want to make it too far down though. If you do go over your page, then don't worry too much. Just put it on the back, so at least it's all on one page still. Let's go to energy. Put a little electrical bolt in there. Oh, I do enjoy revision. I know it's sad. I think it's quite therapeutic, especially when you've finished and you know, yes, I've finished my revision and I've done a really good job. Makes you feel good. Okay, energy rich or secure areas. Let's go for this then. So if you have to name these countries, let's have a little look. So we've got, again, North America, which is USA, Canada, and Mexico. We've also got Russia now added to this one. Russia is energy rich. They've got a lot of natural gas and oil. And, which wasn't in the others, we've got the Middle East for oil, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, those countries. But if you want to name one, the USA has the highest consumption of energy. Yeah, they use the most energy out of any country in the world. The USA again. So as you can see, to be rich and powerful, to be a superpower nation, you need energy to power your industry, your residential areas. So you can see there's a link between wealth and resources. Okay, well, who is struggling for energy? Generally, countries that are LICs, so that's a general trend. LICs don't tend to have the infrastructure, the power lines everywhere, especially in rural areas. So we might say things like rural LICs here tend to struggle with electricity. Let's just say in countries like Sudan. Again, Sudan. So we're not having to learn lots of names of countries because we can just go back to Sudan. I'll try and do that as much as I can within this. I'm going to add one here. This is going to be very interesting and perhaps not one you'd think of here. And this kind of links to the paper 3 and why we might need to build that tidal barrier. I don't know what you think about the energy barrier, but the UK, I'm going to put here. Okay, I'm going to put the UK because we have to rely on imported energy, which is not great. We have to rely on imported energy. So it's not that we haven't got enough energy. Oh, thanks for the love, guys. Whoever's hit the love icon, you can just see it coming up. So thank you for that. Whoever hit that, I didn't even know it worked. There we go. Got loads of love hearts on the screen. That does cheer me up. Right. So what have we got here? Our teacher says energy could be removed this year from paper 2 since it is in paper 3. Yeah. So that's right. I think for the UK resources bit, I don't think you're going to get much energy stuff. I think you're going to focus on food. And I think they're going to focus on water and question 3. Like you say, because there's going to be so much energy in your paper 3. So absolutely right, QI. I agree with your teacher. I don't think there's going to be much energy at all within the question 3 section. I think it's going to be mainly food and mainly water, which is what I'm going to focus on in this session. What else we got? Should we answer all 3 sections on energy, water and food? No, not at all. No, you just choose the one that you've studied at school. So you'll study either food, water, energy. Food is question 4, water is question 5, and energy is question 6. Yeah, and if you follow the channel, you can answer energy. Answer water, sorry. Water, energy and food, yeah. So we're going to do water. We're doing water next Monday. But if I have time remaining, yeah, you probably won't have the time to do it. If I'm being truthful, if you're writing really high quality answers and trying to get a grade 5 and above, you probably wouldn't have time to answer food, water, and the energy section. If you did, they would take the highest marked section from the 3. So it's a risk, but I wouldn't do it personally. I'd think not to do it. Right, as QI said, we think there's going to be very little energy on this section. So the bit I'm going to do for energy is just going to be down here. This is it, the remaining corner here. And then the rest of the page is going to be food and water, because we think it's more likely to be those sections. So key phrase, energy mix, or UK energy mix, just perhaps say UK energy mix. So this is a key phrase. Countries have to rely on a mix of energy, such as renewables and non-renewables, to meet their demand, to make sure that all the houses are powered, the industry is powered, agriculture is powered, and anything else that uses it. You have to use a mix of energy. So energy mix means to use a range of renewable and non-renewable, which is our fossil fuels, formed over millions of years, coal, oil and gas, a non-renewable energy. Let's put fossil there, because it's fossil fuels is a key word as well. Use a range of renewable and non-renewable energy. So we're going to have a quick look at the UK's energy mix very briefly, but as I say, so renewable and non-renewable. In fact, non-renewable should have perhaps done that in orange, because it's obviously that's a finite resource. It's going to run out. Also, when we use our coal, oil, gas, non-renewables, they release huge amounts of emissions, and that leads to climate change. So we're trying to avoid those. Right, let's get into our energy mix for the UK. So there's something called the UK Energy Dashboard. which you can have a look at on the internet. It's really interesting. It updates every 15 minutes. And it shows you what the UK uses for energy at a particular time. So I'm just going to draw a rough pie chart here. So let's put gas in. The UK uses 30% natural gas. What are we on? 10%. This is 10% here. Imports, that's the one that we're worried about. So imported energy, I'm just going to put a little sad face because we shouldn't have to rely on imported energy. So again, if you're going to use the tidal barrier and build it, and recommend that it be built, then you could say the reason is because in our UK energy mix, we still rely on imports, which we don't want to do. Wind is really high, actually. 30% of our energy comes from wind. And then we've got solar. Let's put another line in. Solar is about 5% of the UK's energy mix, generate electricity. So this is how we generate electricity, basically. And then nuclear is another 15%. Nuclear is growing. Nuclear energy at 15%. So nuclear is a carbon neutral, not carbon neutral. It's what I'm trying to say. It's a renewable, sustainable type of energy, basically. So we've got our. Let's just do our sustainable energies. So sustainable sources of energy. That would be wind. We can rely on that in the future. Solar and nuclear energy. Yeah. This 5% here is other. There's 5% other up there. And then that means that we've got about, so what's that add up? 30, 45, 50% is from sustainable sources roughly at the moment. So from wind, solar, nuclear. And then we've got unsustainable sources or non-renewable coming from the other 50%, which obviously is not great. It's not great at all. So 50% from those ones. That's imports, gas, and other. Okay, that's 45% there, roughly, isn't it? Anyway, from those ones. So if we have imported energy, we are this. Let me just highlight this. Imports, because we've got about 10% imported energy. We are energy insecure. The UK is energy, and put this in black capitals, energy insecure. We are energy insecure. We have to bring in energy from other countries to meet our energy demand. We have to rely on imports, of energy. That's because our supply, the demand for energy in this country is greater than what we've got in terms of supply. So the demand for energy here is greater than supply. So we tend to get our energy from our neighbours, from Europe. Big thanks to Europe. And in particular, we get a lot of our energy from Norway. So we'll have a little shout out to any of our Norwegian followers on YouTube here. Thank you so much for helping out Britain with things like natural gas and providing us with energy. There we go. So we get energy from Norway, 10% roughly on imports. There we have it. Right, another key. I'm going to do all the key words in this section. So we're going to go carbon footprint. Carbon footprint. So according to AQA, you need to know what a carbon footprint is. And this is a measure of an individual's carbon emissions. So it's how much a person in a lifetime emits in carbon emissions. So let's put this in as an individual measure of a person's carbon emissions. And it's measured in tons of carbon dioxide. It's measured in tons of carbon dioxide, or CO2. That's how it's measured. Now, the country with the largest carbon footprints is also the richest nation on the planet. Shout out to our American viewers. They have the largest carbon footprints. And then people in the developing world, in low-income countries, they tend to have the lowest carbon footprints. So these tend to have the highest footprint. Can somebody Google, actually, just on the chat, guys, can somebody Google what is the average carbon footprint for an American in a year? That'd be really good. And I could put that fact into our little revision. What is the average carbon footprint for a US citizen or for an American? Right, I'm just going to catch up on the chat. Where the other 5% adds up to 95. Yeah, that's right. Let's just say imports might be about 15%. Yeah, 15. Let's change that. You're right, QI. Imports range between 10 and 15%. Yeah. I know that gas and wind are 30. Solar is 5. Sometimes nuclear is higher. Sometimes nuclear might be 20. So that could be 10. But yeah, either change one of these two, either imports or nuclear. There we go. 16 tons. Okay, there we go. 16 tons per year, basically. 16 tons of CO2. That is okay. 16 tons of CO2 per year. Thanks. You are awesome. Thanks, Lily. Really appreciate that. We like to have a few facts. Thank you. So just very quickly in the chat, because we haven't had many questions actually. Can you give me 3 things that contribute to your carbon footprint? 3 things that might contribute to a person's carbon footprint. Bearing in mind, carbon footprint has not been on the exam, I don't think, ever. Things that contribute to your carbon footprint. So I'm just going to cut that bit off there, and just so it's all nice and neat down here. Things that contribute to your carbon footprint. What have we got? And I start to draw them here. As I say, this page will be very busy, but it should have everything on it, pretty much, that you're going to need, roughly. That's what we think. I've made sure that I've covered all the critical things for resources once we've finished this. So the first one is domestic energy. Domestic means home. So the amount of energy you use at home with your lights, plugging things in, TVs, dishwashers, yeah, that makes up your carbon footprint. The bigger the home, generally, the bigger your footprint. Next one is, what have we got here? Energy consumption, yes. Travel, yes, that's what I'm going to do now. Travel is the one that has the biggest impact on your footprint, especially if you like to fly. This is really bad for carbon emissions. So travel, that's my plane there. This one has the most impact on your carbon footprint. So if you go on a couple of flights a year, your carbon footprint is going to be really high. Wealthier people or people traveling for business, they're going to have a huge carbon footprint, which is not great. Carbon emissions obviously links to climate change. What else we got here? Yeah, QI's got, yeah, that's kind of what I've put there. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. It does change, literally, it changes every hour. Solar's high on there, it's 15%. Yeah, it does change every hour. Right, but thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. QI, top geographer. Right, the next one is, which I don't think anyone has said actually, is food miles. So let's draw a banana. Yeah. What you eat and where it comes from is going to impact on your carbon footprint. So if you're going to eat avocados and you're going to eat Argentinian beef and you're going to eat Spanish strawberries, your footprint is going to be much higher. Bearing in mind, we import 50% of our food in the UK. Half our food is imported into the country. So food miles, here we go. A word that you have to know. The exam, food miles. There we go. So this is the distance. Let me put it here. Distance your food travels to the consumer to get to you on your home. So food miles is the distance that food travels to get to the consumer. So if you think about a Big Mac burger travels on average 8,000 miles, a Big Mac. And that's because the gherkins are from Turkey, the beef pate is from the UK, the cheese is from Europe, and the onions are from the US, I think, something like that. Anyway, it's about 8,000 miles. Your Big Mac burger. Huge problems. And remember, 50% of our food is imported. So that has a huge impact on your carbon footprint. So there we go. A bit on energy, not much on energy because, like we're saying, because of that paper 3 being on energy pretty much, we think that energy will be reduced in this section. They'll test you on your energy knowledge largely in paper 3, but there's things that they might ask you about energy, especially carbon footprint, that might come up this year. Right, let's get on to that's the first section done. Look, yes, how nice does that look? That was pretty cool, doesn't it? There you go. Right, let's go into this middle section now. This is all going to be UK food, to which we think might come up this year as a section in this here. So let's put you there, zoom you in. Right, are we ready? We're going to go with UK food. Okay, this is our UK food section. And there might be a question, which tends to be a question on well-being. So we're going to put here food well-being. And each person should have around about 2,000 calories per day. So to be healthy, you should be getting around about 2,000 calories a day. I don't know how many you've eaten today. Maybe you've had your tea, I don't know. All this talk about food now is going to make you need your tea, I think. There you go, let's get you. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get you focused in here. Make it a bit blurred. Is that better? It doesn't look bad, does it? Oh, it's gone up. Oh, there we go. That's why it's frozen then. Yeah, it keeps freezing. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, what's going on with it now? Oh, it's come back. There we have it. That's better, isn't it, guys? Oh, it's focusing in. Oh. I don't know what's going on with it now. Sorry, it keeps unfocusing. Right. So why is food important to people? So can you hit us up in the chat, guys? Why is it important to have a nice, healthy diet, getting regular amounts of food, a variety of food, a balanced diet? Why is it important that people in a country have access to food? That's what we're going to think about now. Hit us up in the chat, guys. Why is it important that people have access to food? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 main reasons I'm going to put down. Honestly, I don't know why it's not focusing properly, but anyway, there you go. That's better. Why do you need food? To think and learn. Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully you've had some food before this live stream. Think and learn, yes. To give you energy, yeah. To do what? What are you going to use that energy for, QI? Yeah, think about what you're going to use the energy for if you have to put that in an exam. So why do we need food? Question could be like a little 3 marker. Why is food important to social well-being or something like that? Movements, yeah, movements. So we don't become malnourished. Great answer. If we don't eat enough, we get stunted growth, and that affects our health. You don't study health and social care, but perhaps that was a very good answer, like health and social care. Well done, Lily. Right, the first one is to avoid being malnourished, to avoid malnutrition, being underweight, having a low body mass index. You don't really want a low BMI. It's actually being underweight is not good either. Overweight's not good, and neither is being underweight. So yeah, we don't want that. Let's have a look at our next one. So to avoid malnutrition, the next one is improved immune system. So your immune system is the one that fights off colds, coughs, flu, those sort of things. And if you're eating the right food and the right diet, it can actually help your immune system fight off infections. You're less likely to become ill if you're getting a good diet. In particular, things like vitamin C. If you drink lots of orange juice, that might help you avoid colds and coughs and things like that. It can also increase your life expectancy. So if you live a good life with a healthy diet, and a good balanced diet, you could increase your life expectancy. Not having food could reduce your life expectancy. So let's have a look at the next one. It can reduce infant death, infant mortality, because it's often the children. If there's a lack of food within a country, we tend to see that it's children that suffer the most. And also, if there's a lack of food, it can prevent a child's development. So you, especially at the moment as teenagers, your bones are growing, your body's growing. You need a good source of food during those years when you're young, especially when you're young, like a toddler and things. But now, especially now. So the last one, which I think is probably the most important, a country that has plenty of food is more productive. So if people have food, they'll be able to go to work and earn some money for the economy. They'll be able to go to school and concentrate. Yeah, they'll be more successful as well. So this could increase the gross national income of a country because the workers have energy, they're well fed, and they'll be more productive in theory. Yeah, children in school will be fed, and that will lead to better concentration and better attainment, better GCSE results and things like that. That's why we have breakfast clubs in schools, because we know if you're fueled up for the day, you'll be much better. Right, something that I think is going to be on the paper this year. I haven't said for certain what I think is going to be on, but I'll be surprised if this next bit isn't on. Agribusiness. It's been on once before. It's due to come up. Mental health. It makes you angry, doesn't it? That'll be a mark, I'm sure. If you're not getting enough food, you might turn a bit more short-tempered and things like that. Yeah, agribusiness. So hit us up in the chat, guys. What is agribusiness? What do you understand about agribusiness? I'm going to put it in block capitals. The UK has a lot of agribusiness, but what is it? Agribusiness. We're going to highlight it. I think this is going to be on. What is agribusiness? More productive workers, maybe put that. Do I put workers here? If we can squeeze it in. Sometimes you've got to write really small, haven't you? As I say, we're trying to get like 8 lessons, the whole unit on one page, so you have to do right small. Farming to get money. Yeah, it's big business, ways to improve food. It does provide the country with a lot of food. It improves food security. If you have just joined us, guys, this is what we think might be on paper 2, question 3. We reckon they're going to ask you about agribusiness this year. So we're just wondering what agribusiness is. Do you know? In the comments section. So, agribusiness. Well, agri means agriculture or farming. So this is farming crops or cattle or wherever it might be, cows, beef, pork. Farming for high profits. This is very profitable farming. So it's farming for high profits. It's what you might call commercial farming. Commercial farming is where you grow enough food or rear enough animals, beef, cows, and things like that, to sell to other countries. And this is really important for the UK economy. Yeah. So often it is for imports or exports. It's important for the UK economy. It's an important part of the economy. I know the economy is the previous section, question 2, but yeah, we'll just put it there. So whereabouts does agribusiness occur? Let's get our map pin out because we're trying to go for higher grades. We've got to be able to name somewhere in the UK where there's a lot of agribusiness activity. So the example we're going to go for is Eastern England or East England. I should say Eastern England, sorry guys. Because I've got this other word in my head. East Anglia is the area in Eastern England which has a lot of agribusiness. Also known as the Fens. It's also known as the Fens. Nicknamed the Fens, the area. There we go. So agribusiness is farming for high profits. It's commercial farming. It's an important part of the UK economy. Let's put a smiley face there. It's important. It provides the UK with food, which is really important as well. Right, let's have a look at some of the features then. I'm going to go with 4 features of agribusiness, 4 characteristics. So let's get our big tractor up here with a huge pound sign there. Yeah, farming for big money, huge profits. So what is an agribusiness farm? Let's have a little look. So these farms tend to have a lot of machinery. So it's classed as being industrialized farming. So it'll have combine harvesters, it'll have tractors, it will have milking, to milk the cows, all mechanized milking systems. Lots and lots of machinery is typical because machinery brings in efficiency and you can do more in a shorter space of time. So it's industrialized farming. These farms grow enough food not only for that country, but they might also grow enough food to sell to other countries. So these farms tend to have national or international markets. So some of the food grown in these areas might go into other countries like Europe. Okay, international and international markets. Basically, it can be exported. So they have high exports. Do we put that in there? Yeah. Yeah. So these farms might export to other countries. What else are these farms in terms of their characteristics? Well, they're very intensive farms. There's a lot that has to go into it. So these are intensive farms. It's called intensive farming. And the farmers will have to put lots of, or will need lots of, seeds, maybe things like fertilizer to get the crops to grow, huge quantities of crops to grow. They're going to have to do a lot of irrigation when it's dry, like we've had in the last couple of months. And they're probably going to have a lot of machinery, as we said, as well. So these farms are expensive to run. There's a lot goes into them: seeds, fertilizers, irrigation of water in the crops, and machinery. So lots goes in, but obviously lots of profits. This is high profit farming. It's also part of the bioeconomy. So if you want to be really geeky, agribusiness is part of the bioeconomy. The life economy, farming basically economy, agricultural economy, you could say, yeah, which is part of the UK's not only food production, but it generates wealth. So these farms generate wealth for the country. So as you know, I always like to put an example in. So I've got a little case study in case you need to talk about agribusiness for maybe 6 marks. That's the highest you can get in this section, 6 marks. So here's a name of a farm. It's called Heathland Growers. They own a few farms in East Anglia called Heathland Growers. Heathland Growers. And as I say, they're in East Anglia, which is where we've talked about here. This is where this farm is. In fact, let's put that in brackets because you might forget when you're revising again. So it's in East Anglia. And this farm, let's go for 3 facts, grows arable crops. In particular, wheat is the main one. And they have over 2,000 hectares, which is football pitches. HA is hectares, 2,000 hectares of land. As I say, it's mainly wheat that they grow. Number 2, they use GPS tractors. So they're using high-tech machinery. Basically, a GPS tractor will actually farm and plough the field using geographical positioning system. It's much more effective and much faster and much more accurate. If you want to see it in action, go and watch Clarkson's Farm on Prime, and you'll see Clarkson's Farm using GPS tractors, especially the new series. It is awesome. They also have, last but not least, automated irrigation, so automatic irrigation systems. So when it detects the soil is dry, on come the sprinklers. How impressive is that? Let's say high-tech farm. And this farm here, the Heathland Growers, they grow food for a very famous British supermarket, which I'm sure you'll know the name of, which is Tesco. So they provide Tesco with food. So if you shop at Tesco, your food might be from this farm. There you go, a little Tesco logo. So that's our case study. Right, I want to finish off one more thing on farming. And again, it's going to have to be another table, which is the impact of UK food production. So I think this might come up. Either impact or sustainability. So we're just going to create a table here. Let's just box it off there. So we're down to the bottom now, guys. Here we are. Oops. There we go. So we're going to draw a little table in this bit at the bottom. And I want to do environmental impacts of UK food production. So how it impacts the environment. Again, this could be a 6-mark question. Environmental impacts of, I can't put food. I don't think I can fit food production without going too far. Environmental impacts of food, and then we're going to go for sustainable strategies, things that are good for the future in terms of farming and food production for the UK. So we're thinking about future when we think about sustainability. So we're going to go for the positives of things we could do to make our food supply more sustainable and environmental impacts. Environmental impacts of food. So hit us up in the chat, guys. Let's put the table in. What is the impacts of the UK food production? What is the environmental impacts of UK food production? How does it impact the natural environment when we grow food, distribute food across the world or to different countries? Let's see. How many have I got? I've got 4 main issues with 4 main environmental impacts of food production. Yes, well done, Lily. Eutrophication due to fertilizers running into water supplies. Yeah, I'm going to mention that in our water section on the final bit. The final third of today's work is going to have eutrophication on it. So that's, yeah, absolutely. I will mention it in this section as well here, though. Good. What else is the impact? Ways to improve food production. That's what it is, yeah. Sustainable food production is what we're looking at, QI. Okay, right, let's get straight into it then. So the first one, in fact, no, I've got 5. So the first one is high water consumption. So farms use a lot of water, which might lead to water scarcity. So that's our first one, high water consumption. Let's just underline them. They use a lot of water. 70% of water is used in agriculture. 70% of water to grow crops. So it's our main use of water is to grow crops. But to really squeeze that in. So high water consumption, farms use a lot of water to water their crops. Next one is food miles. Obviously, if we get food from far away, that is food miles. So food miles increases greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, increased greenhouse gases, which then leads to climate change. Yeah. Also, if people are eating a meat-based diet, such as cows will release methane from their burps, and methane is 10 times more effective at trapping heat in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide. So actually, methane is worse for the greenhouse effect, the enhanced greenhouse effect. So meat-based diets is not good. A lot of farmers, especially agribusiness farmers, will use pesticides, which kills pests, but also bees, which is not good. And they use fertilizers, which can also be problematic to the surrounding area. So pesticides will kill insects, which lots of insects have got a very important job in the food chain, but also it can lead to things like habitat loss and water pollution. And we're going to talk about eutrophication on the next little bit. But yeah, pesticides and fertilizers, they run into rivers and lakes nearby, and that causes massive problems. One that you're probably not aware of, but it is quite significant. Farmers are trying to make their fields bigger to grow more crops. And this is a big one, removal of hedgerows. Yeah, trying to remove the hedges from the sides of the field so they've got more space to grow. So removal of hedgerows, which is not good. Food waste is a problem, especially in the UK. People buying food on a special offer, buy one, get one free, and then obviously not eating it all or throwing it away. In the UK, we throw away 10 million tons of food per year, which is absolutely shocking. So we are quite wasteful when it comes to food waste. Throws in the bin, and it's not, some of it might be out of date, obviously, but we just have that much food, we throw it away, which is an environmental impact. Most of that will go to landfill sites. Again, filling up landfill sites with wasted food. Last but not least, I don't know if I can fit this one on. Plastic packaging that's going to have to squeeze right back on the bottom. If you go over yours, don't worry, plastic packaging. A lot of food comes in little plastic wrappers and things like that. And as you may know, plastic takes 500 years to biodegrade. And we tend to put loads of things in plastic and plastic bags when you take it back from the shop. That's all the environmental impacts of our current food industry. High consumption of water, food miles, pesticide fertilizers, removing hedgerows, which means that leads to habitat loss as well. If you remove the hedgerows, that leads to habitat loss. Hedgehogs and things like that, birds that live in the hedgerows. Yeah. Food waste is a big problem, and plastic packaging. So what can we do to be more sustainable in terms of food and food production? Hit us up in the chat, guys. Yeah, well done, Lily. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas. So I think they might ask you about sustainable food strategies, which is what we're going to put here. So what can we do to make the UK food industry more sustainable, better for the planet, and better for the future generations. What have we got? What have we got? I think maybe drip irrigation, using drip irrigation. I think hydroponics. Are you on about hydroponic farming? Yes, that's it. Hydroponics. Yes. Hydroponics. It's where you farm without soil and you literally drip nutrient-rich water onto the plant. Yes, James. Organic. What does it mean? Organic farming. What is that? Organic farming is going in here. But what is organic farming? So what can you do to reduce your carbon footprint in relation to food? How can you make food more sustainably? The next green revolution. Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, absolutely. A green revolution of farming. So let's get into it then. So I'm going to go for locally sourced food. Go to your locally sourced food. Go to your local farm shop. Get it from your local farm. Got some nice farm shops where we are. So visit farm shops would be good. Or you might have an allotment. Don't know if you've seen allotments. In most towns and cities, you can go on a waiting list, because lots of people want them, a waiting list for an allotment, which is a plot of land where you can grow your own fruit and vegetables, which is good. But the good thing about buying food from your local farmer is it gives, not only is it better for the planet, it also provides UK jobs. You're giving money to the farmer. That gives money to the UK economy if you're buying British. UK economy. Yeah. And we also reduce food miles. So we reduce food miles, which again lowers your carbon footprint if you're getting food from a local farmer. And what you've got to look for is, in the shops, it is a red tractor logo. So when you go out shopping to Co-op or wherever, you got to look for the red tractor logo. Yeah, this is about ethical consumers. So if you go out and you deliberately buy something that's British because you know it's better for the planet, you are an ethical consumer. You are doing things that's better for the environment, which is good. Other things you can do is eat seasonally. You could also perhaps have more days where you eat plant-based diets. That would help in terms of methane emissions. But eat seasonally. Yeah. Eat what's available at that time, which would also reduce reduce imported food, or the demand for imported food if you're eating the food here. So eat what's in season. Eat things that can be grown here. And the big one is, which is what James has said, organic farming is fantastic for the planet. You pay a little bit more for the food, the goods, because the farmer doesn't grow as many crops. They're not as fuller, they're not as heavy, because they're using natural means. They're using the weather, the natural ability of the soil to grow the food. They're not using fertilizers and pesticides, which also means it's healthier for you to eat the organic food. It shouldn't need a wash. Yeah, lots of food, when you see it with fruit and veg, it says wash this before use. That's because it's got pesticides on it potentially, or fertilizers. So organic farming is farming without chemicals. That's the key thing. This is a key term in this topic, so make sure you know it. What's good about organic farming is it's good for nature. You're not going to kill the bees. Don't kill the bees. They're amazing. They're really important for pollination and the health of the whole ecosystem. So it'll increase biodiversity on your farm, which is fantastic. So we've always got to think of a named example. So here's my map pin. We are going to proper geek out on this exam, aren't we? We're going to do so well here. And an example of an organic farm is a farm called Riverford Farm. Riverford Farm. And this is a farm, again, in East Anglia. So it's in the same region that we've been studying. And they use, well, they don't use chemicals. They're organic farmers. They promote natural methods to farming. Right, we are on to, look at that. Yes, geographers, look at that. Fantastic. All the key words from the unit are all on this page as well. This is fantastic. Right, we've got our last little bit now, which is water. We think that water might be on. If food's not on, which it will be, but you'll have some questions about UK food. Hopefully it's the things we've covered here, which is pretty much everything you need. So now we're going to finish on looking at UK water. So we're going to go up here now. As again, we think this might be on this year. Water's not been on for a couple of years in this section. So let's have a little look. So we're going to put here, first of all, UK's rising demand for water. UK's rising demand for water. Yeah, there we go. Well done, James. Yeah, organic farming is farming without pesticides or fertilizers. Thanks for getting involved, guys. If you've not been involved, please join the chat. That would be really good. And you probably learn more in that way as well. Okay, here we go then. So why does the UK need more water? I've got 3 reasons why the UK needs more water. So let's have a little look. So in the future, it's going to need more water because of growing industrial use, more factories. Growing industrial use and energy generation. So things like HEP, hydroelectric power, let's put that there, will mean that we need more water in the future. More industry, more energy, they all use water. Industry largely uses water for cooling, but if you live in Burton, the water is used to make beer. So I reckon we're going to have more brewing in, let's say, 2100, because the population of the UK is going to be around about 80 million, and therefore we're going to need more water in our brewing industry. Also, let's just put this on here. I just kind of mentioned it, we're going to have a higher population by 2050. So we've got here population growth. More people living here means that they're going to need more water for domestic use in the home, washing, showering, cleaning their cars. So by 2050, we think in the UK there's going to be 80 million people in UK. So 80 million people. We've now got, I think it's 70 million. So it's going to be a massive increase. And not only that, the increased population, let's just highlight that, increased population, industrial use. These people are also going to be wealthier. So with increased wealth, wealthy people use more water for things like hot tubs and dishwashers. So as people get richer in the UK, people will want things like dishwashers and hot tubs, maybe even swimming pools in the future, and that will mean that we use more water. So increased wealth will mean increased water usage, as the UK is obviously getting richer. I know it doesn't feel like it, but every day this country is becoming wealthier. Last but not least, as I've already said, 70% of your food, 70% of your water is used for farms. So if there's more people, we need more crops, and more crops means more irrigation. Farmers are going to have to irrigate the land. So we're going to put here increased irrigation. is why we're going to need more water in the future. Increased irrigation for food. Excellent. But Q3 is a choice. You need to pick energy. No, Jesse, it's not. Q3, every student will study Q3. Q3 is UK resources, and it's food, water, and energy. So you all have to do this section. And then the specialist sections are question 4, which is food, question 5, which is water, and question 6, which is energy. All right. It is confusing, isn't it, this exam? It's confusing, but all students in AQA GCSE Geography will complete question 3 around the country. Okay. Absolutely. So my school studied energy. Yeah, that's in quite that. So you study energy question 6, but you also do need to know water. So you do need to know this, Jesse. This is UK. Good. No, you're more than welcome. That's what it's for, guys. This is what it's for. Help you out. Yeah. Good. Right. So we talked about why the UK needs more water in the future for its population growth, and the wealth of the population going up will mean that we have more water-based appliances probably in our homes, growing industry, and increased irrigation. Right. Let's have a look at water pollution, which is something that you need to know. Water pollution in the UK. This has been in the news a lot recently. Water pollution in the UK. There might be a question about challenges of water pollution or causes of water pollution, things like that. There we go. So water pollution. What causes water pollution? Well, we're going to go with something that's been in the news, which is the sewage scandal. So you're going to look really geeky now because you're going to look like you watch the news, proper geographers. Yeah. The sewage scandal. You must have heard about this. And what's been happening is water companies have been allowed by the government to put sewage into UK rivers, certain limits on sewage, and into the sea. Crazy. And it's called the sewage scandal. So that's sewage going to British rivers and British waters. The main company linked to this is Thames Water, and I saw them on Sky News today. These are the main people that have been fined at the moment. So these people are managing the Thames area of London, and yeah, they've been known to be dumping sewage in the River Thames. So yeah, not good. Right, so let's get a little diagram in, and we're going to look at what leads to water pollution. And again, if you do the water section, this might help, but you do need to know it in question 3, UK water pollution, or it could also be challenges of managing UK water. So these are the challenges of managing UK rivers or water supplies. Yeah, water companies dumping sewage in your rivers. Like the Trent. Sorry, I'm just drawing a polluted river. It's going a bit. I'm going to get a bit too into this, aren't I, here, guys? There's my polluted river, because we're going to put some things in here to show water pollution. So the first one is, this is not my proudest moment of teaching, but that is a poo. Looks like the emoji poo. There we go. So the first thing that goes into British rivers, as we've already said, is untreated sewage. And the reason why that goes into rivers is it costs money to process it, costs the water companies money to process it. So it's cheaper just to put it into rivers. 33% of UK rivers have sewage in them, have this problem. So a third of all rivers in the UK have raw sewage in them. So just be careful if you go into a UK river. Don't drink the water. Definitely don't drink the water. Other ones are, let me put this in here. So you can see by my little picture here, we've got kind of waste and rubbish. So we've got waste, rubbish goes into UK rivers, gets blown in or whatever. But we tend to have something called microplastics in the rivers. So these are tiny bits of plastic which will get into the river, and that will effectively kill the fish. So it kills, kills species in the river. So if there's cans in there, bottles, microplastics, that can kill species in the river, which is obviously not good. Let's put another one up here. It's only a little one. Industrial runoff from a factory. So there might be a factory near the river, and the yard is, let's say it's got lots of lorries, the yard has got loads of oil spills from the lorries, and then if it rains, that washes into the river that's next to it. Okay, so things like oil can run into the rivers, or from roads as well. Yeah, road traffic, oil can run into rivers if there's been an oil leak from cars. The big one, though, the massive problem in the UK is agricultural runoff from farms. And Lily is onto something with talking about eutrophication. I think this could be a big thing on the exam this year, and I'll tell you what it is. Agricultural runoff from fertilizers. So the farmer puts fertilizers on the crops to grow them, and then it runs into the river when it rains. So sprays his crops, it rains, that gets washed off the crops, and guess where it goes? It goes into a river, and then we get fertilizers in the river, which is not, it's not what we want, is it, guys? Not what we want. There we go. So agricultural runoff from farmers. Now, this is the shocking fact that 40%, is it 40 yet? 40% of UK rivers contain fertilizer, which is from farms. I know it's hard to manage. It's like the farmer puts it on his crops. He doesn't deliberately put it on in the river, but it ends up in the river. That's the point, and that's not good for UK rivers. So if you get a question about water pollution and the challenges of managing water, it's very difficult to manage water supplies in the UK because of all these pressures. You've got industrial pressures, you've got dumping and microplastics, you've got agricultural runoff. This one is the main cause of water pollution in the UK. Chemicals from farms run into rivers. And then you've got untreated sewage from Thames Water, the sewage scandal. So fertilizers in water leads to a process called eutrophication. Okay, I don't think they're going to say what is eutrophication in the exam, but they might ask you a question about water pollution. If they do, then you can talk about eutrophication. Okay, so this is a way in which rivers become polluted. So I'm going to do a little step-by-step process here. So basically, fertilizer from a farm, fertilizers enter river through runoff, basically. Yeah, so they run onto the river with rainwater. So this is how you're going to get the good marks. This will create a bloom of algae. Algae is a plant. Plants love fertilizers, so it creates something called an algae bloom, which is where lots and lots of green stuff grows. If you've got a fish tank or a pond, you'll know what algae is. It grows really green. So what happens then? Because you've got lots of plants, the plants die over time. Because you've got lots of plants, they will die. We get plant die-off. Yeah. I think I might be helping you out for GCSE science now as well. Which leads then to, if the plants die, we get an increase in bacteria numbers or levels of population of bacteria, because bacteria eats the plants. And we have an increase in decomposers, small microorganisms that eat the dead plants, the dead plant matter. Let's move you down a bit. There you go. Good. If you're still watching, we really appreciate you still joining. Hope you're finding this live stream useful. So these little microorganisms, like bacteria, let's just put a little bug there, they explode in population. There's loads of them because they're all eating the dead plants because there's lots of plants. because of the fertilizers. So you can see how it links. That would lead, because there's a lot of animals, like bacteria, the oxygen levels drop in the water. Oxygen levels drop in the water column. So there's less oxygen in the water because the bacteria and the decomposers are using it for respiration. So these guys here are using up the oxygen to live. So oxygen levels drop, which then leads to fish die, which is pretty sad. So the whole ecosystem suffers because of eutrophication. So fertilizers cause algae to grow, algae dies, bacteria eat the algae, they take up oxygen, oxygen drops in the water, and then the fish die. That is eutrophication. Any synonyms for eutrophication? I can't help you out there, Jesse. I don't think so. Eutrophication is, it's kind of a high level thing. So if you're going for like grade 7, which I'm sure you are, and above, that's something that you can talk about if water pollution comes up. Anything on water pollution, you could mention eutrophication. It's a great thing to talk about. And it happens in UK ponds and rivers because of agricultural runoff. Excellent. Right. I want to do 2 more things just to wrap up then. So we're going to move down. There's eutrophication. We're now going to look at UK supply and demand for water. UK water supply and demand. So you might get a question saying, where is UK water? Where is it needed? So you need to know which areas where the water is in surplus, where there's lots of it, and where it's in deficit. Okay. So just to know, in the UK, for water, we are resource rich. We're resource secure. We have a lot of it. Okay. In the UK, our supply in the UK tends to be greater than our demand for the majority of time. We don't tend to have many droughts. We are pretty wet for most of the time. I know we've had a really dry season in the last couple of months, which is unusual. So we tend to be in water surplus. We don't tend to have to worry or be stressed. We don't have water stress. We have a water surplus. We have plenty generally of water to meet the needs of the population. We're lucky. We are lucky in that sense. So let me draw a quick map of the UK. That is a simple map of the UK. And in the north and west, so the north and west, Northern England, Scotland, the Lake District, Wales, these parts of the country tend to be in surplus. So over this side of the UK, this is where it rains the most. It's surplus because you've got islands of Scotland, you've got the Pennines, you've got all the hills here, the Welsh Cambrian Mountains. It rains a lot in the north and west. So north and west of the British Isles or the UK tend to be in water surplus. And that's because of something called relief rainfall, the hills creating the rain. There's lots of hills in the west and the north of England. And also we get a lot of frontal rainfall that falls here. Right, and then generally then in the south and east, so the further, well, central, and then towards the southeast is the driest part of the UK. Yeah, there we go. So in the south and east, we tend to have water deficit or water stress. That's where the least amount of water is. South and east. And for the UK, that is not good. So we tend to have water deficit, which is a shortage of in the south and east, which is a problem because this is where most people live. So this is where London is. South and east, it tends to be densely populated. So in the UK, the wettest areas are where the least people live, and the drier areas are where the most people live. So we have a bit of a problem with the distribution of our water supplies. So therefore, we have to manage our water. So if you get a question about where the UK water supply and demand is, well, the supply tends to be in northern areas and West Wales and Scotland, and West and Northwest England, and the demand tends to be central and east in places like London, where there's the most people. It also tends to be a lot drier down there as well. Right, last little section then. Let's have a look. This is going to be UK water management, and then we're going to wrap it up there. That should be everything, pretty much, hopefully. Everything that you're going to need for this section of the exam in 2025. I guarantee some of this will be on there. Absolutely. Not everything. There'll be something on there that we didn't think of, but you can only be as prepared as this, really. And yeah, I think you'll be in a good place. So what's happening? The UK government has a plan to manage water. The UK government has a 25-year plan to reduce water pollution in rivers and in lakes. And this is going to cost £4 billion to clean up the rivers and the ponds. £4 billion. And that will be taxpayers' money. So that's your money that your parents pay in taxes. But yeah, at least there is a plan to reduce water pollution in UK rivers and lakes. That's good. Another plan that the government have is to educate farmers, because remember, they're the main cause of pollution. Not that they're bad people, they're just trying to grow food for us. But UK farmers need to change what they're doing. There's my little farmer. So we're going to put here, educate UK farmers on things like eutrophication. Because that is, you know, a farmer's not going to be too worried about eutrophication. They're going to be about making money, aren't they? So educate UK farmers and maybe give cash incentives, so give them money to go organic. So actually the government is giving farmers additional money as a grant. So that's free money to encourage organic farming and things like that. So that is fantastic, isn't it? So the last thing that we're going to mention in today's live stream, we talked about where the water is. It's generally in the north and west of the UK, and we need it down in the south and east. So the UK government has a plan to do water transfer, and we're going to talk about this more on our live stream on Monday night on our specialist topic of water. So we'll talk more about the pros and cons, or the advantages and disadvantages. But they're already doing water transfer. So there's a place called Kielder Reservoir in the Lake District. Kielder Reservoir. It's a man-made storage of water. And that's in the Lake District in northwest England. So that's in the northwest, where there's lots of water, or there's more water. Okay. And they've built a pipeline to transfer water in a pipe from the surplus area, which is in Kielder Water. So this is our surplus area. We've got a new pipe. They've got a new pipeline. Let's have to write really small there. New pipeline, which is taking water east to where it's needed, and it takes it to Newcastle, the city of Newcastle in the east, which is much drier, and Newcastle is densely populated. So now it's densely populated. I'm just going to have to put densely pop. It's densely populated. So actually we're doing water transfer. So that's how we manage water. We take it from a surplus area to a deficit area in pipelines, and this is already happening in the UK. And it's working very successfully. As I say, Kielder Water Reservoir down to down to Newcastle, which is fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. Right, there we have it, guys. Wow, look at that. I keep saying this every week, but I think that could be, what do you reckon? That could be our best ever revision. What do you reckon? I think it could be. Can't get enough light on it now. There you go. Absolutely everything on one single page for UK. Let's go full screen here. Let's put me back on full screen. There you go. Absolutely everything for UK resource management. Question 3. All the key things. Look at that. That is superb. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope you appreciate that. Hope it helps you with your revision. Hopefully you can now enjoy that section. I do like resource management. I think it's a good section. You can potentially pick up a lot of marks. It's worth 15 marks in total. So I think we've pretty much covered everything. We haven't done much on energy, but we think that that's going to feature heavily in paper 3, don't we? So that's it. But thanks for joining us. If you're watching us on catch up or as a podcast, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It'll share it with other geographers around the country. And join us Monday night for water. Question 5, water specialism. We're going to look at south to north water transfer project in China. And we're going to look at my favourite thing, sad I know, Kenya sand dams. So if you study water management as your specialist topic, then join us Monday night. If you don't, you can still join us, but if you don't do water, study water, join us on Thursday night before the exam. Thursday, the 5th of June, we're going to do a Q&A live on YouTube. You can ask me any questions about paper 2, and I will try and help you the night before the exam. But you guys are doing awesome. Stay locked into your geography revision. Love your geography revision. Keep going. All this hard work will pay off. For now, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your holidays. And thank you for all the kind words. Yeah, North-South divide, Jesse. I did that on video on my YouTube channel. If you go to the YouTube channel, click on live, and it's called UK Economy, and I've done the North-South divide. The whole of my videos are on there. There's a playlist for paper 2. Check them out. I'm sure you'll find them useful. Yeah, absolutely. But thank you, Harry. Thank you, James. Thank you, Lily. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, guys. Keep revising. Thank you, Kiai, Jesse. Yes. Yeah, I catch up going to rewatch. Awesome, Jesse. Thank you. Yeah, get on the paper 2 playlist on our YouTube channel and watch them all. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye. Oh, much appreciated. Thank you so much.